So I'm Alex Ward. I am a messaging expert. I'm a keynote speaker and the founder of Core Story. And I work with leaders and brands to help them speak with guts, heart, and real clarity. And essentially, that's what this podcast is all about. It's an extension of that.
I'm sitting with my aunties and my cousins, and I look across the room and I see Tony Abbott. And I'm like, I think that's Tony Abbott. And I was 21 at the time, maybe 22. I go over to him and I'm like, hi, Tony. I'm Zoe. I'm from Australia. Nice to meet you. I think we've sort of edged too far in that. And we spend too much time talking about our feelings in the workplace and not talking about outcomes. I just reckon 30 seconds, I know exactly when they walk in the door, they're a leader. And I bet you, if I was a betting woman, he would not be saying that to a man. If no one is going to toot your horn, just do it yourself. There's no meeting before the meeting and there's no meeting after the meeting. It's in the meeting, right? It's not a lunchtime gossip session. We're all in the meeting. They're not paying me to talk about their feelings.
Sales is the backbone of business because if you can't sell, you're gonna struggle to build something.
The people who put in the extra mile will end up being rewarded. And it's...
Hello and welcome to Naked at the Top. Today's guest is someone whose leadership is defined by commitment, hard work, and confidence. Zoe Goodhardt is the head of growth and marketing at TAG. She played a key role in Western Health's COVID-19 vaccination rollout and has overseen project delivery for Nala, Funday Sweets, and Mazda. But it's not just her strategic thinking and execution. Zoe's a mom of 3 and brings her family values to her team to build a strong culture. Zoe, welcome to Naked at the Top.
Thank you. So nice to...
So I'd love to start by finding out, how did you get the job at TAG? Because I hear it's quite an interesting story.
Okay, yeah. So I, as you said, I have 3 children, and after maternity leave was like finishing with my 3rd child, Jazzy, she was about 1 and a little bit, and I was like, I had quite a long maternity leave with her, and I was like itching to get back into the workplace, I had always worked when I was on maternity leave, but I was sort of interested in finding my feet again in a corporate environment. And I was walking down, basically down the street, and I saw Alon, who I used to babysit. And I said, what do you do? And he's like, I've got a digital agency. I'm like, that's nice. Like, tell me a little bit about it. And he tells me. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to come and work for you. And he's like, no, like, you're not. Like, we don't need you. And we kind of, we don't need another person on the team at the moment. I said, okay, well, what would it take for me to come and work for you? He goes, I don't know, bring a couple of clients with you. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, literally the next day, I had a big enough of a client that would basically subsidize my salary, right? And then I said to him, well, just layer on whatever on top that is you could fit into my load. And at the time, I was only doing I think it was 18 hours a week or something. That was 6.5 years ago. And Alon did not think that I was going to bring in a client the next day.
The very next day? How did you do that?
I mean, I had a couple of people when I was on mat leave call me and say, hey, Zoe, can you help me with this? Or I had a problem with my website, or I have a problem with an exercise. Can you come in and do some consulting? So I had enough people in my network that required some love and attention. And so I just called one of them and said, I think I could actually take your business from X to Y, but do it through TAG. And not only would you get me, but you'd get an entire team of specialists. So that's it.
That's amazing. What was the reaction like? I'm sure they were shocked.
Actually, so Gary, the other co-founder, who I literally only just met, I walked in because I said to them, give me a contract, right? Give me something that is that I can get them to sign. And he's like, all right, I'll give you a contract, as if it's cool. That's cute. Like, hand me a printed thing, put it on his desk. I'm like, "Okay, let's get to work."
That's brilliant. I just think that's, like, a testament to who you are and, yeah, a go-getter and just make things happen,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I just think that when you see something so clearly, like, as soon as I saw Alon again, I hadn't seen him in such a long time,
Mm.
it just felt right.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, amazing. Could you briefly take us through your role at Tag and what your day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, sure. So look, I mean, on paper, my job is head of growth and marketing, which essentially means I am responsible for bringing in new business into our business, and
Mhm,
then working out what that what that client needs. So through the onboard, like through the discovery phase, I then can determine whether or not a business needs help with their website or their CRO, like a CRO program or CRM, or social ads or Google ads or whatever it is. And then
yeah,
I'll determine that in conjunction with our team, and then through the transition of that client into the business. So, I'll make sure that the onboarding with us is what I sold, right?
mhm,
And I will
yeah,
step them through that process, and I'll make sure that they're landed safely and they're off and running, right? And they're off and running. Typically, I then take a step back and then our team fly, right? So that they do all the
mhm,
flying, and then I would then come in at certain intervals along the way to just check in on how it's going. That is what it's meant to be. Now, in reality,
mhm,
it's not like that at all, because um, sometimes firstly, I'm much more invested than, and that's often been a criticism of me from
mm,
our team. I'm much too hands-on. I
mm,
need to take a step back, but I sort of can't help myself because I love the actual work. So the problem with my job now is that I'm responsible for something that happens up here, but you sort of don't get to do the actual work. And I still
yes,
really like doing the actual work.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, so that's broadly what I do, and then the other parts of my job is mentoring and upskilling our team.
yeah,
I do I guest lecture at RMIT in postgrad marketing, so that's really a fun and exciting part of my like it's not day to day, but it does ebb and
mhm,
flow. And then I'll often represent our business in the wild. So I'll go to conferences and
mhm.
I'll speak, or I'll host events here and I'll be the face of the business. Yeah.
Amazing. So very, very varied, and it seems like you really care about the growth of your people, but doing lecturing at RMIT as well. You obviously want to give back to kind of the wider community as
Yeah.
well. Amazing. So, how obviously Naked at the Top is all about leadership. How would you describe your leadership today, your leadership style today, and how's that changed since you've come more into kind of ownership with Tag?
I find this question really challenging because one part of
Mhm.
me knows the answer I need to say. Um,
Tell me the real
um,
answer.
it's buzzing at me. And the other, for example, I know the answer is I need to lead with empathy. What about empathy and vulnerability and making sure that you're in touch with your emotions and um, things of that in that vein, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I think we've sort of edged too far in that, and we spend too much time talking about our feelings in the workplace and not
Mm.
talking about outcomes. So um, I'm obviously very invested in my team. Often I'll know their pets. That obviously their pet's name because they're always in the office, right? So their pet. I'll know if a father or mother is unwell, or a sister, or someone's getting married, or what holiday they're going on, and you know things like that. I struggle in a day-to-day leadership role when you sit down with someone in the team and they want to talk about how they feel about
Mm,
work and how they feel about whether or not they feel like they're the right fit for the client. It's all a feeling rather than an actual acknowledgement of like intellect and experience. I've occasionally I lose my temper because I think it's very firstly it's very easy for someone to talk about their feelings, right? It's not easy to hey,
mm,
Alex, like tell
mm,
me about the results of that campaign, right?
mm,
Now, for, they're talking to me, right? So they're talking to their boss and their leader, and then they say, "Oh, but I felt that if we would have had an hour more, or felt that
mm.
if the client, let me put it in blue rather than in yellow, it could have been X." Right now, a client isn't going to say, "Hey, Alex, tell me about how do you feel about this campaign?" They're not going to say that. They're going to say, "Alex, what is the net result of all of this?" Right? What am I profiting from this campaign? Because really, money makes the world go round and not feelings.
Yeah, and essentially, what you do in digital marketing is that, the results are there, and they're gonna want to see those results. And I must say, I think it's really refreshing that you have said that. And I felt that myself when I was in corporate and managing a team. I remember at times saying to, like, my peers, like, "Oh, sometimes I wish people would just do the job." And it can be really difficult, managing to, and not enough people speak openly about it, so I'd like to, thank you for giving me an
I'm
honest
not sure it's
answer.
that popular. Like I, I think we've like we give our team a lot of I would call it rope, right? Like
Mm,
you know,
mm,
um, I consider working from home rope. That's not
mm,
like that can't be the rule. It should be the exception, and there should be some gratitude there because from home enables you to have a dog, you know like put your laundry out. Like there are a whole lot of things that you're able to do with that said rope. Um,
yes.
and I'm happy to provide rope. Have the rope. Have it. But then don't talk to me about your feelings. Like I would expect your feelings are feeling pretty good right now because you've been able to put your washing out.
Well, I spoke to, a few people close to you ahead of the interview, and we obviously talked about leadership and how it's evolved. And Joe Beath, who's the strategic advisor at TAG, he told me, and this definitely does relate to how you just answered that question, because he said she doesn't suffer fools and is not backward in coming forward with it.
Just funny. Yeah, I think like I probably could do with a little bit more grey. I think like our clients and our team will always say like they'll always be shocked by my attitude or what I say. I say what I think. I say the meeting. Like there's no with me. There's no meeting before the meeting, and there's no meeting after the meeting. It's in the meeting, right? It's not a lunchtime gossip session. We're all in the meeting. We're all doing it together. This is what it looks like to be a team. I might say something that could be uncomfortable, right? Or I might objectify like something or someone in a marketing sense that might not be completely. I mean, in marketing, not everything is you're basically you're asked to be like objectify, right? We have to make a judgment call on whether or not this person is the right brand ambassador for this business or whatever it is. And because we're trained to be politically correct, right? We're trained to skirt around the edges and not say things that we think and things like that for fear of offending somebody. I think when I say things, I think people are a bit surprised. It's never an offense, right? But it's just faster. We're going to get faster. Everyone just say it out loud. Hurry up, say it. Let's have it. let's put our thinking caps on and let's move forward.
So is that what really drives you then, just thinking of that end result and the outcome and just thinking we're gonna get there faster if we just lay it all on the table?
I think so. I was actually it's interesting. A lot of what we do doesn't necessarily mean digital marketing. It could just be traditional marketing, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of it means that there is an omni-channel experience, which means might be retail, it might be an activation, it might be digital, it might be all of the above, right? And a client just said to me last week, he's like, Zoe, I have never met a marketer more interested in the bottom line than you, right? Because I don't want to just talk about brand. I want to talk about brand as it relates to sales or relates to lead generation. I think marketers often get a bad rap for like just what I would call speaking shit, right? Like let's talk about brand and colors and brand identity and personas all day. It's like it's garbage if you're not using it in conjunction with sales data.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and then also, I've had this conversation as well with one of my partners is yeah, we generate the leads, but then what are we doing to help convert the leads? Because, you know, you can generate lots of leads for a business, but if they've not got a way of converting them, then it's,
Yeah.
you know, almost really.
100%. Yeah.
Well, looking, talking to others about your leadership style, they all had a lot of nice things to say about you, and it really built up a big picture for me. Every one of them said that you're extremely hardworking, and Joel actually told me that you're the hardest working person he's ever met. And Gary said that you lead with action and purpose, and he says you just get shit done. But they also said that you've created this family feel around the office, and you do nurture, invest your time in everyone. And it's clearly working because I think they said the average is employees is about 4 years, which is quite high for an
Very
agency,
high.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that make you feel hearing that fact,
Um,
Zoe?
I always feel a little bit uncomfortable I don't want to take responsibility for that. Like I think, you know, we're all responsible for making sure that our team enjoy being here, right? Like
Mhm.
been to parties, I'm sure you have, Alex. I know I have. I've come into an environment and no one says hello, right? I've
Yeah,
been to parties like that. And as soon as I walk in there, I'm like, okay, I don't know anyone here. No one's talking to me. I want to leave. Um,
yeah,
I always want this to feel like the best party they've ever gone to, but like obviously without the party, right? Like I have this thing whenever a client comes in here and, you know, more often than not, like I'm the only person they've met at that point, or they've seen me online, or we've met at a coffee shop, or I've gone into their business. And then they find me in our office, right? And I get up and I'm like, hi, how are you? You know, coming in. And then I say,
yeah,
everyone, like, this is Alex. And then everyone knows, hi, Alex. Like, it's like,
yeah.
and then the person, you can see it immediately disarms them because,
Of course, because 'cause you're making them
yeah.
comfortable. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know, there's, there's a lot of things that people contribute, you know, for me to set that up, everyone has to buy into that, right? So like other
yeah.
leadership have to buy into that. You have to, you know, you want to make people participate because that's what it looks
Mhm.
like. So I personally have an issue with it being described as a family because I think
Mm.
if my children and my husband and, you know, and obviously my friends who are like my family, I'll ask them how they're feeling. Right?
Mm,
But with my
mm.
team, like I'll say, how was your weekend? But like our clients are paying really good money for us to do the job. They're not paying me to talk about their feelings.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
what family
yeah.
do. And it's like a team, like a sports team, they're outcome focused. How are we going to get up the ladder? What are we going to do to get there? Like who do we have to bring up and put more effort into if we see there's potential, so professional development
Mhm,
and things like that. Like
mhm.
and who wants to invest in themselves? Because you know, in every player,
Mm.
in every team, in every sports team, there's going to be a player that is like ready to retire. You know, they're tired, they're not interested. You know, like that's okay. Like that's life.
Mm.
Working that out is a team. It's not so much a family.
Yeah, yeah. So do you take you kind of look at the team and see those ones that, really wanna grow
Yeah.
and you nurture them and train and develop? Do you spend some time with the team in that
I
respect?
can identify it within 30 seconds of meeting them.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to be boastful. I just reckon 30 seconds, I know exactly when they walk in the door, they're a leader.
What's a signal or a trigger for
A
you
few
that
things.
tells
It's
you?
it's it's not just in that 30 seconds. In a resume, like, and I look at all the resumes that come through our door. I look for three things. Have they been in retail? Have they done hospitality? Or have they been a sports coach or player? Are they still invested in their health? Like, or have they done, like, you know, have they been a squad coach? Are they in their local football league? Are they in basketball? Like, anything like that, or a combination of those, or one of those, I immediately know, okay, they're set up for success.
So the hospitality one's interesting. What's the take on that one? Why is that one
Because
important?
I think you already know how to ask questions. It's the same thing as retail. When you walk into a retail or a hospital or a restaurant, how are you feeling today? You're good at asking questions, like, um, you're making a customer feel like they're the only people in the room. Like, um, "Oh, have you had a busy day? Like, can I get you a cocktail? Or would you like a glass of wine?" Anything like
Yeah.
that, I think, like, it sets you up for success, and, you learn to practice, like, asking questions and listening to people, and, um, actually, for about 10 years between, like, uni and on and off when I was on mat leave, like, the same business I was working for, a retail store, it's actually around the corner from our office. And it's one retailer, so they only have one store. It's called the Antique Silver Company. They don't sell any antiques. It's actually just like, it's giftware, jewelry and giftware, and like things like that. Platters and stuff. I, I can't like, it's hard to. I say this, and I think people don't believe me when I say it, but if people walk in that store and they say, "Hey Zoe, where are you, like, who are you buying the present for?" And I'll say, "I'm buying it for Alex." And they'll say, "Oh, okay, Alex has already got the entire
Wow.
green collection of this particular, Mud Australia product or whatever it is. So she needs to start on the collection with it, which is the purple."
Wow. So they just know their customers at the
They know
top of their
everything.
head. Wow.
They know everything,
Wow.
and, like, they everything is handwritten, like, so they'll take note of it, they'll handwrite it, they can reference it if they need to, but they never do because it's all up there.
Mhm.
And they know
Mhm,
their
mhm,
customer inside and out. They know that the customer, like, if someone comes in there and they say, "Okay, I'm gonna buy it for my auntie Florence," right? They'll say, "Oh,
mhm.
didn't Auntie Florence just renovate her house? Isn't I heard her house is now peach and not yellow anymore." I mean, that is, like, exceptional skills, and, like, that's what I look for in people. That's what I would call A grade, but not everyone's like that. But that's how I've been taught. Like, what yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, 'cause in hospitality anyway, I mean, I worked in hospitality a long time and I was backpacking and things, and, it is about making people comfortable and starting that conversation
Yeah.
and, all the things that are important when you're dealing with clients as
Yeah,
well, so
100%.
that's a great tip for people listening if they're looking at hiring people. Have they worked in hospitality? I love that. A quick gear shift, LinkedIn. Who's winning the LinkedIn competition, you or Gary?
I would say I am, but it's cute if he thinks
You are.
he is.
Well, I'd have to ask why and how are you measuring that success? Because Gary would love to know.
We started doing it a few years ago because we noticed that, like, every time we posted something on LinkedIn, we would see, like, inquiry, or we would get an influx of, like, resumes or whatever it is. So we started, like, talking about it more. We started talking about it more. And then he and I started saying things like, "Okay, I think you should post about this," or "I think you should post about that." And sometimes, like, I would give him, like, a full, like, you know, like a basically in menu items of like, hey Gary, I think you need to be writing about all of these things. And
Yeah.
then we turned it into a competition. And some years he wins. Last year I definitely won. You just know. Like you just know.
Gary said that you've tried to get other people involved, but it's mostly just stayed the two of you for the
Yeah.
time being.
It's really like I think this is actually more of a female thing than a male thing, but it's really hard for people to talk about themselves, right? Like, it's not
Mm,
natural. You know, as women, we're
mm,
taught to be like courteous, kind, self-deprecating,
mm-hmm.
and if we're ever talking about the things that we do really well, it's often deemed as boastful, right? Now, I have never given that any credence whatsoever. Just like, in fact, last week, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting at a lunch with somebody and they said, I want to introduce you to this client of his. And here are the problems that he was telling me about. Can you solve any of them? And I said, yeah, we can do X, Y, and Z. I'd have to understand a little bit more about A, B, and C. Okay. And he's like, oh wow, you're speaking with a lot of confidence. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, obviously we can do it or we can't do it, right? I know we can do those things and we've done it for other clients and it's been a real success. And he said something like, oh, it's boasting looks good on you or something like that. So I said, yeah, it does look good on me. And I sort of wore it as a badge of honor. He was like, oh, it's boasting, as if that's negative. And I bet you, if I was a betting woman, he would not be saying that to a man. It would be
I was just about to say that.
high
Yeah.
five, yeah, bro, yeah, mate, like, yeah, and instead for women, it's like, no, don't, don't toot your own horn. So, I mean, I find that very, very frustrating. Like, particularly for women, where we try here, like we have a channel in our channel, Bella, and you Bella other people's achievements, or as when we onboard somebody, we'll say, often we're not going to know whether or not you've done something really good, right? Like we're not on every email, and your colleagues aren't on it either. So if you've done something amazing, put it in Bella, tell everybody, and tell us how you've achieved it, so we can all replicate it. So I'm trying to get people into like the rhythm of like self-bellaring, because it's, if you're not gonna, if no one is gonna toot your horn, just do it yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely, and not everyone's going to do it for you, so do that yourself, and going on the LinkedIn thing as well. As a business owner, I post on LinkedIn. It works for me, and a part of my personal brand is honesty, just showing up and being honest. And I was out for dinner with an old boss a few weeks ago, and she said to me, I like the honesty approach, but there was a post the other week. I think I was just too honest. I'm like, good. Well, that's what it's about. That's what I'm putting out there. Why should I have to hold
Yeah,
back?
yeah,
It's yeah, I think more of us should be doing
yeah,
it.
100%.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, on that confidence, I really wanted to dig deep into confidence with you, because a few people I spoke to did tell me that you are just a very confident person, and I know for many listeners, particular me as well, I've struggled with this in the past. Is that confidence? And Joel said to me that you are not, oh, what was the word he used? You're not intimidated by anyone. So you can just walk into a room and win them over. And he actually said, in fact, if there was a famous person in the room, you'd walk right over to them and say, "Hey, I heard you're famous."
I've done that so many times. It's that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, then I brought it up with your husband Dan, and he said, ask her about Tony Abbott.
that's so funny.
I'd love to hear the story about Tony Abbott.
Um, okay. I mean, okay, so for the listeners who are listening to this who don't know who Tony Abbott is, he was the Prime Minister of Australia for a short time. And before that, he was the I think when he was in the in the Howard government, I think he was the Minister for Health, perhaps. So for a period of time, like on Australian media, he was on the news basically every day, right? Anyway, I was traveling with my family in Israel, and we were sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and we're waiting for people to come and go, waiting for dinner. And I'm sitting with my aunties and my cousins, and I look across the room, and I see Tony Abbott, and I'm like, I think that's Tony Abbott. And I was 21 at the time, maybe 22. Over to him, and I'm like, "Hi, Tony. I'm Zoe. I'm from Australia. Nice to meet you." And he's like, "Nice to meet you." So we had a bit of a conversation about like, what he was doing there and what I was doing there, and what he was learning. Anyway, I sat with him for about an hour. Yeah, it was about an hour because we were waiting for everyone to come back, and like we were just like I think we're all just in the lobby just waiting for dinner. By the end of that hour, I had invited him to dinner with my whole family, and our whole family was like 40 people, because we were there for a family occasion. And I said, like, come for dinner, and he was with a couple of other senators. Come for dinner, we'll make more space for you. Anyway, but at the end of the dinner, it was actually an amazing learning for me, because by the end of the dinner, he had remembered all 40 people's names, all 40.
Wow.
And at the end of the thing, he went around the room shaking people's hands and just saying, like, "So nice to meet you, Walter. So nice to meet you, Mark. So nice to meet you, Peggy." Like, everybody's.
Wow. And what that kind of relates back to what you were talking about, the shop and,
Yeah,
actually listening, taking an interest, and he did the
yeah, it was
same.
pretty amazing. And then, like, what was funny was that I had invited him for dinner before everyone came back to the hotel for dinner. So you had like 30 people come into the room, and they're like, "What is Tony Abbott doing here?" Like, and then they look at me and they're like, "Oh, obviously, I just invited him for dinner." You know?
So do you ever feel nervous, like, going up to her? Are you just like, yeah, why shouldn't I speak to Tony
No,
Abbott?
I've never had that. I don't know why.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
I think probably a little bit of that wouldn't go astray every now and then. Like, I have almost I don't know, I'd call it like an overwhelming sense of confidence that I could talk about things I have no idea about,
Mm.
right? Like, I could if I needed to. Now I'm old enough now to know that, like, I know now what I don't know, or at least, right? So either I choose to turn it on, or I can be like, okay, I've now got like real experts around me who can like come on in and take the floor. But I've always just, first, I'm the youngest in my family, so, and by a long margin. So my brothers are 9 and 11 years older than me. So at every single like family occasion, if I needed the room to listen to me, like, I've got to make it known that people should be listening. And so I think practicing like those behaviors at a young age was important. Like, was probably where the foundation of my confidence started. Because I'm like, everyone look at me. I have something to say, even though I probably had nothing to say. I wanted everyone's attention. Like, I was sick of everyone having adult conversations and not including. I had to like learn the adult conversation, or I had to be entertaining.
Yeah, yeah. Love that. Has it ever gotten you into trouble?
Definitely. I mean, definitely. I think, firstly, women typically are quite intimidated by me. I had that feedback for 20 years. It's often easier for me to gain male friendship than it is to gain female. I mean, I have like a very strong cohort of female friends, so I'm not devoid of them, but it is easier for me to attract like male friendship than anything else. I think that. And yeah, like, often I say the wrong thing, or I do the wrong thing, or I think if people can see that your intention, that the intention is there, like, that if you ask what the intention is always, positive, then usually it's fine.
Yeah. I'd love to get your take, just from this conversation. I'd love to get your take on imposter syndrome, because we hear a lot about
Yeah.
it, and often in women. And I'd love to just hear what your thought is on imposter
I- I'd I'd
syndrome.
I'd really, really like it to be divorced from reality.
Mm,
I
mm,
honestly, I can't stand it. Like, I went to one talk recently, and the whole panel was about imposter syndrome. It's almost attractive to have it, right? It's
mm,
like we
mm,
have to say, "Oh, I didn't think I was worthy," or
mm.
or it was a little bit of luck, or whatever. Like no one is saying, you know what? No, this is fucking hard work. I've done all the research and planning for this. I have not slept in months. And this is the benefit of the hard work that I have put in. And it's like we're, especially I think particularly Australians, I don't see this as much in America, but like Aussies, like we're so used to like taking people apart and tall poppy syndrome that
Yes. I hadn't heard that until I moved here, the tall poppy
exactly.
syndrome,
So
yeah.
like in order to not have tall poppy syndrome, you have to adopt imposter syndrome so people don't put you on a peg down because you can do it yourself. Like, no, you don't even bother thinking that you're excellent, because someone is going to tell you that you're not as good as you think you are. And that's their opinion, by the way.
Exactly,
Like, that's their
exactly.
opinion.
Mhm.
I can think I'm fucking great, and they think you can go and think I'm mediocre, but I think I'm excellent. So I'm going to keep going. I hate the imposter syndrome shit. Gives me the
Yeah. Same, because I think, and it comes down to that self-awareness and having that confidence, and I think in leadership and in business, you kind of need that unwavering confidence to just keep going, and it's like that common saying, what they think of you is none of your business, and you almost need to you need to take that on because you're not gonna please everyone. Everyone's gonna have an opinion of you, but you've just gotta,
yeah.
keep going and be confident in yourself and your own abilities.
I also think that people, when someone gives you a compliment, right? Like in our business, it would be, um, one of our designers. We can say, "Hey, Sophie, like your designs have been instrumental in this campaign success. We know that because the click through rate, because of the designs, have been X or Y, right?"
Yeah.
Now, she could say, "Oh, you know, it was nothing, I don't think it was really me,"
Mm,
right? Because that's natural for women and for Australians. But all we need to practice doing is just saying thank you.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
Mhm, mhm. And I think many people will probably still be uncomfortable with getting positive feedback. I know it's something that I've had to work on early in my career. I would get that kind of cringe when I would get that feedback, but I'm definitely better now. I can say thank you, but for me, it's also important to know where I can improve. So, for example, every time I speak and people come up to me afterwards, and I always like to hear like what was missing or where I could improve because in my head I'm thinking, how can I make
Yeah.
it better the next
I,
time?
I don't think there's that, we're beyond, we're beyond feedback, even if we do think we've done an excellent job. Obviously, everything we do, if you are not figuring out what the next 1% is, we're not doing our job properly. So everything, we track everything here, and um, I benchmark myself in every conversation, in every pitch, everything. And
Mhm.
internally, like Alon and I were at a pitch this morning, and then we got in the car and we both said, "Okay, what can we do better next time?"
Mm.
But it's feedback. It's not feedback for the sake of feedback with imposter syndrome, right? It's feedback for the sake of like increasing your stature or your expertise by 1%.
Yes. Yeah. 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 It's so important. Um, I'd love to talk to you about your sales technique because I've I heard a little bit about. I think it was Joel that told me, and it's obviously sales is and building that instant rapport and trust with someone is something that you're very very good at. And I'd say that sales is the backbone of business because if you can't sell, you're gonna struggle to build something. So I think it's really important for everyone listening, whether that's to the market or internally. So what's your approach to sales, and how do you think you can build that instant rapport?
I've been asked that question before,
Have you?
and
Okay.
I don't know how to answer it. I like people, and I like spending time with people. I have alone time in my life, but I don't need it. And I was taught at school by a couple of teachers on how to mimic behaviors. So a part of this, I would call it sales tactic, although it sounds extremely manipulative, and I don't do it. I don't do it on purpose, but I can almost see myself doing it out of myself, where I will take parts of people's personality or their mannerisms in the conversation, mimic them, and then immediately I can see they feel more comfortable because people like seeing versions of themselves in front of them. So if I can adopt one part of their behavior, even if it's small, it's always going to make people feel more comfortable. And then I just, I suppose I ask questions. And now we're at a stage in our business, thankfully, where we don't have to take every piece of business that comes our way, right? So it means that my confidence in our ability to deliver a piece of work and the confidence in our business to succeed, regardless of whether or not that person is going to hire us or not, is probably pretty attractive for the person talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it comes down to that again, that confidence and belief in what you say you can do.
Yeah. Well, if they don't choose us, cool. That's great. In fact, I'd love to know how you go with the other agency or whatever, or if you decide to hire internally, it doesn't work out. My number is always there, and you can always pick up the phone.
Yeah. 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 So it's almost like that energy of we don't need this, we want it, but it's like, sometimes that desperate energy can come across too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. 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 This has been a great conversation, Zoe. Just before we wrap, I always like to do a bit of a quick fire round with the guests. So I'll ask you a couple of quick questions so you can either answer, avoid, or throw it back at me.
Okay.
So who was the last person you text and what did you say?
The last person I texted was a client. Actually, I never looked at my phone. And we were on a Zoom call with a tech provider, and we were trying to validate whether or not we'd heard the same thing. So we're having like a conversation outside of the conversation. Yes, this happened. Yeah. But usually my text message history is always with a client. Always client first.
But what was the last thing you said to ChatGPT?
I do talk to it a lot, actually.
Yeah, I love talking to it. I feel like I might have a relationship going with
Me
ChatGPT.
too. It feels really intimate. What did I say into it? It was it's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I know. Actually, I was putting together a post for LinkedIn. Actually, put out, and I said I feel like there's something missing here, and it was about like trying to get some brand collaborations happening with our clients. So I was using it just to sense check my my thoughts.
Yeah, great. Love it. Podcast, audio, or music?
I listen to a lot of podcasts at the moment. It's like a way to learn, actually.
What's your go-to?
I'm now listening to Emma Grede. She's the founder of Skims and
Aspire?
yes, Aspire, yes.
I heard her on Diary of a CEO,
Oh.
and I loved her interview, and when she said she had a new podcast, straight away I followed it. I love her.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. And what she says about particularly what she says about like working from home and the people with hustle and I liked her commentary around. I want to make sure I paraphrase her well, but the people who put in the extra mile will end up being rewarded, and it's not something that you can really talk about because then people will be like, oh, I don't want to work for her, she's a workaholic, right? Or I don't want to not have a work-life balance. But like really, the people who put in a little bit of extra, they do get rewarded. You see that everywhere.
100%,
I just loved that
100%.
she said it. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she was great. I hadn't heard of her before I listened to that, but now I love her. All right, last one. What's your guilty pleasure?
Drink a lot of wine and a bit of whiskey.
Whiskey, right?
And I probably have dark chocolate, like not so a guilty pleasure, but I eat actually Fun Day lollies, the Fun Day sweets. They're a client, and I have them like more than once a day, a packet of those. And
So that's where you get your energy
yeah, a
from.
little, yeah. And I take an hour for myself every day, which is important to me. Like I do it the first hour of every day, like from 6 till 7, like is mine. And I religiously follow this rule because it keeps me sane.
I think that's really important as a mum. I'm the same. I actually get up at 5 a.m. unless my kids are up through the night like they were last night. And people are like, "You get up at 5? Why?" I'm like, "'Cause then I get alone
Right.
time." And it sounds strange, but it sets me up for the day, which
How old are your
sounds so nice.
children?
4 and
So
2.
you desperately need it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's so important. Well, I always like to leave just a gift for the listeners. And everyone that I spoke to about you said some version of this, that you invest deeply in your people and you do give your time and your energy. So I want to leave listeners with this is what would you say to a leader out there who's holding so much to themselves and they forget to simply invest time in the team? What's the reminder that they need to hear now?
I think leaders often, I mean, Gary tells me this. He reminds me of this often. So it's not really mine. It's really Gary's. But um, to delegate and to trust your team, delegate. Like, it doesn't all have to be on you, and you'll end up feeling an enormous amount of pride when you see the like what's happened as a result of that. So I would say like just to learn to like let go a little bit. And that's a reminder really also for me because that's often a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, same to me as well, but, I think it's a great
Yeah.
reminder. Well, thanks so much Zoe, for joining me. This was a great
Thank
conversation. I
you.
really
Thank you
enjoyed
for having me.
it. Thank you. Bye.